Fact number one, if you lose faith in the American judicial system, then it's time to burn it all down. Why? A republic requires faith in our institutions. Many of us have wondered about our institutions, especially the judicial branch. Why? Because we've watched one judge reads the law this way, another judge reads it that way. Everything gets overturned on appeal, and it just looks like the whole system is discombobulated. But your Professor Toto is here to set the record straight for you and explain to you today why you can still trust in the greatest government on planet Earth. Is it flawed? Absolutely. As a matter of fact, you really need to read my blog from a few days ago called The Language of Freedom. It's on Substack. Just look for Professor Toto and read that blog. Our government is very flawed. That's why our founding fathers admitted to us when they handed us this government, they said, we're giving you a less than perfect government, but we're giving you a more perfect government than the one we left. They admit to you and me a profound truth that someday we've got to accept, that our government is not perfect. If we do not come to terms with that, we expect perfection, and when we don't get it, we lose faith in the whole system. But here's another thing you have to deal with. Where else on earth will you find a better government than the United States of America? So with that said, I want to explain to you why you can still have faith, especially in our judicial system. We must have justice in America. During the 2020 election, we didn't get that justice, and it was heartbreaking. The courts seem to have shut their doors to us. So let me teach you. I'm going to try to do this in 3 minutes. Our judicial system is set up where the first court you go to, they are not concerned about the Constitution. I know that's shocking, and it was to me as well when I first found this out. Let's just deal with the federal courts. The first level of the federal court is called the district court. There's one in your town or close to you. It's a district court. When you go to that court and file a motion or a lawsuit, the judge in that court is trained not in the Constitution. They are trained to interpret not the Constitution, but the statute. So when you file a lawsuit, you're going to have to quote a statute in the law to defend your claim. That judge is going to take your motion and he's going to read not the Constitution. He's going to read the laws on the books and then look for precedent to see what other courts have decided on that statute, not the Constitution. For example, Roe v. Wade. How, all those years, did these federal courts get it wrong when they interpret Roe v. Wade? Because their job was not the constitutionality of Roe v. Wade. Their job was simply to read the law as it's written, whether it's constitutional or not. You read the law as it's written. You do not try to interpret it. You do not try to figure it out. You read it in the district court and you rule. It's that simple. So you get a decision that you know is wrong at the district level. For example, President Trump, the district judge there read the statute that seemed to suggest he was guilty, and they ruled based on the text only. So When you look at that ruling, you're like, no, this is wrong. This violates my rights. The district judge doesn't care. It's not his job to care. It's his job to rule. Have you ever wondered, do these judges get embarrassed when they're overruled at the next level? No, they did their job. They read the text. This just happened, I believe, in Virginia with James Comey and Letitia James. The district judge read the text that said that the prosecutor is illegal, which she's not. I taught that in my class. If you want more information, go watch my class on YouTube, When Judges Disagree. And I explained the James Comey deal. So once you get the district court ruling, guess what? You think, oh, that's a rogue judge. It may be. But thank God your founding fathers protected you from a rogue judge. Have you ever wondered why President Trump always wins on appeal and never in the district court? President Trump pursues legal theories. For example, the January 6th theory, that was never tested by the Constitution. According to the statutes as they were written, January the 6th was illegal. But if that could have ever gotten to the Supreme Court, they would have ruled otherwise. That's why they didn't accept it. They knew they would have to rule by the Constitution. Now, once you get that ruling from the judge, you appeal it to the circuit court, which is your second level in the judicial system. Now, the circuit court judges are not like the district courts. They are not ruling by the statute or by the text. They are ruling by the intent of the statute. So they don't just read the text. They go back to when that law was written and they pull up the conversation of the legislators when they were passing that law. Their law clerks research what the intent of that law was. And that's where we overturn rogue judges. However, they are still at the circuit level not ruling via the Constitution. They're not concerned about the Constitution. Their job is to interpret the law as it's written. You may not know this, but many laws that are written are not constitutional. They're against the Constitution. And yet they get through district court, circuit court, and they never get overruled. Why? Those judges could care less about the Constitution. I don't mean they don't care about it, but it's not their job. Their job is to do what? Read it the way it's written in the first level, and then interpret the intent in the second level. So let's just say that the circuit court agrees with the district court. Now our brilliance of our founding fathers kicks in, and now you appeal it to the only court in our land that cares about the Constitution. The SCOTUS, the Supreme Court. Did you know they are the only court in America that decides on constitutional matters? That's why Roe v. Wade was overturned at the SCOTUS level, because they didn't read Roe v. Wade and try to interpret the law. The Supreme Court pulled out the Constitution to find out if Roe v. Wade was ever legal to begin with. And that's why it was overturned. It made it to the Supreme Court. President Trump knows this. This is why the 14th Amendment has never been overturned. If you go right now to district court, they are going to stand up for the 14th Amendment. President Trump signs an executive order to get rid of birthright citizenship. And the whole nation goes, he can't do that. That's settled law. There's precedent. But what if all that settled law and all that precedent was always unconstitutional. There's no court that's going to figure that out unless a president takes out his pen and signs a law, an executive order that's treated just like law. If no one sends him to court over that, it's the law of the land. But he knew they would, and they did immediately. They go to district court. Listen to me, you heard it here first. They're going to lose at district court. And the minute they do, all the headlines, President Trump loses. He was wrong. No, President Trump knows where he's headed. The only place he ever gets justice constitutionally is at the SCOTUS. I did a show months before he was elected called The King's Court. Many of you have forgotten that show. You might want to go back and listen. I told you this day was coming when the King's Court, from the Word of God, I compared it to Israel. Oh, the many things you've learned here first before you heard it anywhere else. The 14th Amendment, guess what? When you go to district court, they read it, and here's what it says. Anybody born here and subject to the jurisdiction thereof, they're a citizen. Case dismissed. That's what it says. Bam, you lose, President Trump. Good. We wanted to lose, so we can hurry this thing up. Go to circuit court. They're going to interpret the 14th Amendment, and this is where the attorneys are going to argue that subject to the jurisdiction thereof is the constitutional problem. There's a 50-50 chance the circuit court will see that. But there's a 100% chance. You listen to it. When we make it to SCOTUS, the 14th Amendment is going to be overturned, just like Roe v. Wade. How many of you remember you never dreamed Roe v. Wade would be overturned? You know why? Because every court in the land upheld it, except the SCOTUS. America has the strongest judicial system in the world. You need to regain some trust in the greatest government ever built by man. Imperfect, but more perfect than anywhere else in the world. Do not allow podcasters in their rabbit holes to destroy your faith in the American justice system. This is why we cannot burn down the Justice Department. This is why I beg people, quit doing Salem witch trials on Facebook. Concerning the death of Charlie Kirk, there's a long dead-end road that many of you are on. And I say this with love. I say this because I truly care about the MAGA movement. You are following people that's trying to figure out who killed Charlie. And that's fine. We all have questions. If someone killed my wife today, God forbid, I just knocked on wood, not that I believe in that, but just in case, I would have a million questions. Guess where I would go with those questions? I would go down to the district attorney's office and lay all my questions at his feet. And I would walk out of that room, and I wouldn't go look for the killer myself. I'm not part of the Justice Department. In America, we live our lives, we love our families and our friends. Our job's not to investigate crime. Our job's not to be concerned with the nuances. Our founding fathers set up a government where we could live our lives, love our families, enjoy our daily lives without worrying about who killed Charlie. Because we elected a man that we trusted to set up the best Department of Justice in history, and he has. And it is time for us to trust in that government created by the founding fathers. I can hear you already. I don't trust any government. Then why did you fight so hard to elect Donald Trump? Do you realize when you elect a president, you're electing his government? Every one of you that says you don't believe in the Department of Justice, you chose that government. Are you saying you don't believe in your choice? You can't have it both ways. Erica Kirk has taken her husband's death and refuses to let me and you prosecute it or me and you investigate it. She said last night, I trust the Department of Justice, Kash Patel, Don Bongino. Folks, we have got to return to some kind of trust in the government of this nation. After all, our president is in charge. I hope you better understand. Quit allowing people to make you think the sky is falling. No, no, no. The sky was falling until we put Hercules in office to hold it up. God bless you. Have a marvelous day. Bye-bye.